morning everyone! Welcome to today's Microforum Show. The big picture, the small details. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we have invited two groups of economics to our show. Welcome Sing Tong and Nguyen Ru, Yushen and Hingsu. It was great to have you all here. Come to our topic today. In 2024, the price of local egg increased sharply as chicken feed and transportation costs went up. Many consumers complained about higher grocery bills while producers struggled to maintain the supply. The government considered importing aid and offering subsidies to control prices. For first section, we will focus on explaining how these changes affect the market equilibrium for aid. Follow up with second section is to discuss how government intervention could help or distort the natural balance of the market. So, I'd like to ask the economists invited today, what are your all's opinion on how increase in price of chicken feed and transportation fee will affect the market equilibrium of aid?
Good morning to host and thank you for inviting us today. To discuss about the market equilibrium of eggs, let us first look at the supply of eggs. According to the law of supply, where other things equal, price and quantity supply has a positive relationship. That is, whenever the price goes up, the supplier will increase the quantity supply of eggs as well. Why would this happen? This is because supplier will price as an incentive for them to increase their revenue and profit. Imagine you are selling egg. You would sell more at the price level of 50 cents instead of 40 cents to maximize your profit, right? This is called change in quantity supply that only involve a movement along the same supply curve as you can see on the graph. However, in the case that we are discussing today, hiking up chicken feed and transportation costs will lead to a change in supply with shifting of supply curve instead of the change in quantity supply with movement along the same supply curve. This is because the egg supplier in this case will not change the quantity supply due to the price factor, but they will change the supply due to the other determinant, that is, resource price. Why would this occur? This is due to the reason that the hiking up chicken feed and transportation costs would directly burden the supplier with higher production costs and consequently reduce their marginal profit as well. Therefore, they would reduce their supply for self-interest. This leads to the shift of egg supply curve to the left. As you can see the supply curve on the graph given from S0 to S1.
Oh, wow! Is there any statistic that can support this?
Yes, of course. Based on the STARS new report, the chicken egg supply is approximately around 16,000 million pieces in the year 2023 and decreased sharply in 2024 to 7,300 million pieces due to the increase of feed and transportation costs. The data show has illustrated how change in production costs, that is, chicken feed and transportation costs, has affected the supplier output decision. Supported by the data, we are confident that when egg production costs increase, producers tend to reduce their supply, and this causes a shift of supply curve to left from S0 to S1. In short, higher feed and transportation costs increase marginal costs, causing supply at each price decrease and shift the supply curve to left because the marginal benefit decrease.
Wow, that is a fantastic explanation from the aspect of supply. I like how both of the economics clearly differentiate between change of supply and change in quantity supply by showing that egg producer will determine their production by not only looking at price factor, but also supply determinant like resource price. They also highlight the importance of marginal analysis where producer may compare marginal benefit and marginal cost before making production decision. It could be a helpful tool when you become a producer one day. Well, let's dive into demand side to continue our discussion on how the increase of chicken feed and transportation costs change the market equilibrium.
Theoretically, demand means the amount of production consumers are willing and able to purchase. As production costs rise, supply shrinks, and this causes a shortage, which eventually brings an increment in egg prices. Thus, According to the law of demand, consumers will purchase less when production price increase because price X is an obstacle to buyers. Let's put this into a scenario for better understanding. Ali used to buy 10 pieces of eggs at 0.40 Rm per piece. However, when the egg price increases to 0.15 Rm per piece, Ali would only buy 7 pieces of eggs. Because with constant income, Ali has a lower purchasing power and he thinks it's too expensive to buy the same amount of eggs.
Hence, we could say that with price hike, consumer will reduce quality demand. Therefore, coming back to our discussion, increment in egg price due to the lack of supply will reduce the quantity of egg demanded as consumer has lower purchasing power to maintain the same quantity demand of eggs that they used to. One important note here is that the increase in eggs price will only lead to a change in quantity demand which involves movement along the same demand curve rather than a change in demand that involves shifting of demand curve. So this is because price factor is not the determinant of the demands like taste, consumer expectations, and number of buyers. Therefore, it will not cause the curve to shift left and right. It will only cause a movement along the demand.
While by identifying both supply and demand curve, we may determine how the change in transportation and feed costs influence the market equilibrium. As we can see, the original market equilibrium before rising chicken feed and production costs is found at equilibrium point of E0 with equilibrium price of P0 and equilibrium quantity of Q0 when S0 curve intersects with the demand curve. However, after the cost of chicken feed and transportation increase, the supply curve shifts to the left from S0 to S1 as they reduce their chicken egg supply.
At the original price P0, a shortage emerged as quantity demand exceeds the quantity supply, placing upward pressure on price until a new equilibrium is reached when the quantity demand reduces along the demand curve to meet the shifting new supply curve of S1. Hence, a new market equilibrium formed at E1 where price equilibrium increased alongside with a decrease in quantity equilibrium. Therefore, we could conclude that rising chicken feed and transportation costs will lead to a higher equilibrium price and lower quantity equilibrium, causing the increase of living costs and decline of life quality.
Wow, that is a fantastic perspective. I'm sure everyone who are watching our show will gain a huge knowledge on how hiking up, transportation and feed costs affect the market equilibrium. Before we move on, let's recall what we have discussed so far. The change in chicken feed and transportation costs may bring a domino effect to overall egg industry in terms of demand, supply, and market equilibrium. It causes increase in price equilibrium and decrease in quantity equilibrium. Consequently, deteriorate consumer purchasing power and quality of life while at the same time cause a downhill performance of Malaysia egg production industry. Well, for now, let's move on to our second section to further discuss on how government intervention like importing aid and offering subsidies to control prices could help or distort the natural balance of the market.
Well, importing egg into local market is a common initiative to overcome shortage in egg industry. This is because by introducing imported eggs, the total market supply of egg will increase by combining both local production and imported eggs together to meet consumer demand. As we can see, Malaysia has imported eggs from several countries like China, Germany, and Thailand to increase total market supply, which contribute around 70 million pieces of eggs. This increased total market supply by supplementing domestic production, shifting the supply curve rightward from S0 to S1, where Q0 is the number of local supply, while Q0 indicates the supply quantity of imported eggs. At the original price P0, a surplus emerged as quantity supply exceeds quantity demand, placing downward pressure of price until a new equilibrium is reached when the quantity demand increases along the demand curve to meet the shifting new supply curve of S1. Thus, in short run, increase of egg supply can lower the equilibrium price and lead to an increase in consumer purchasing power. Consumer then is given more choice on egg and have an ability to buy more as local and imported eggs are both in similarly priced. This helps consumers to enjoy a higher quality of life.
It can only be a short-term solution when it comes to long run. It will expose to risk and bring negative impact. So when more eggs are imported, it will cause a decrease of local supply because lower price will have a lower marginal benefits, causing local supplier feel less willing to produce more. So also, when more imported eggs flow into local market, consumer will tend to buy more imported eggs instead of local eggs due to the higher quality and nutrition of foreign eggs. Eventually, it will cause many local suppliers fail in competition and forced to exit the market. And how will this affect market equilibrium? Basically, the total market supply will still remains to be the same, just that the portion of local and imported egg will be varied. When we rely on imported eggs, the local egg production will gradually decrease as shown in the graph. This will then lead to the increase of unemployment and cause our country highly relying on foreign supply, which will push our country to a risky situation, especially when the supply chain breaks. For example, in extreme cases, when supply chain of imported egg break, the egg market will suffer a drastic shortage as shown.
Wow, that is a thought-provoking discussion. Imported egg may solve the problem of shortage in egg market, but at the same time, it brings repercussions of relying on foreign egg and deteriorate local egg supply in the long run. Is there any initiative to overcome this problem so that we can solve the shortage issue by importing egg while avoiding the consequences it brings?
This is a good question. To handle this, the government should set import quotas and laws to limit the import amount, so that it can cover the shortage but not overshadow local egg suppliers. This ensures import strategies and beneficial for both producers and the consumers.
Yes, moderation is the key, so do the import quotas. After discussing government intervention in terms of importing aid, let's focus on how offering subsidies could help or destroy the natural balance of the aid market.
Government may provide subsidies such as chicken feed subsidies and fuel subsidies to overcome the shortage. This may effectively reduce the producers' production costs and encourage them to increase their supply. Therefore, the egg price will fall when supply curve shifts to the right, as shown. Viewing from long-term perspective, subsidies also encourage producers to improve their productions through research and development, or so-called R&D, that enhance the efficiency and productivity with the profit earned. This ensures a stable growth in egg supply so that the egg market can expand stably with least government intervention in the future.
It wasn't really helpful but contribute to the story if some irresponsible profit-driven producer view subsidy as a way to earn profit regardless the quality of eggs. They might use unethical technique to boost egg production, which may harm consumer. Eventually, egg producers would prioritize quantity, not quality. And what's more, when subsidies are given without clear rules or only on specific grants, some producer might over-rely on it and become less productive. To quote examples, they will only focus on today's survival, not tomorrow's success, where they capitalize existing market instead of reinvent the egg industry. This was so bad, isn't it?
I get you, Xinghang. Some irresponsible supplier may misuse or misunderstand the real intention of subsidies offers. If the issue happens for long term, it will not only increase government expenses but also decline consumer quality of life as they have no choice but to purchase it with low quality. Well, I really like how both economics discuss on how offering subsidies may benefit and draw back the aid market. All in all, subsidies is a tool. What matters most is how you plan and implement it. Nyenru, what is your opinion in this context?
In order to solve this issue, strict laws and regulations should be implemented. For example, the government should increase the minimum quality standard of eggs that are allowed to be sold in order to ensure all eggs produced are of high quality. Not only that, the government should provide more subsidies to producers that focus on self-enhancement as a reward to encourage other suppliers to do so. To further illustrate, producers that provide training to employees, conduct research and development, and encourage innovation should be allocated more subsidies. This will motivate more local producers to invest in and prioritize capital goods like technology that boost egg production, instead of fully focusing on consumer goods like the egg product itself. By doing so, this will generate a higher production possibility in the future.
Well, after listening to both group explanations, I'm sure we are able to catch how importing aid and offering subsidies can help and distort the natural balance of market. Before we end our section, will any of our guests like to wrap up today's talk in short?
After discussing how changes in production costs like feed and transportation fees affect the market equilibrium, I hope that everyone who is watching our show can understand the domino effects in economics, whereby a small change may lead to a huge impact on the overall industry, or even the whole country's economic performance.
From my point of view, I believe that government initiatives like offering subsidy or importing aid are significant to maintain its market stability. However, stricter rule enforcement is a vital step to minimize the issue discussed. After all, a plan will work well only if it's complemented with good implementation.
Excellent conclusion. For those who are watching, mark it down. Maybe it will be useful someday. Thanks again to Yingsi, Xintong, Yuxuan, and Nyenru for attending today's shows, and I hope to have a new discussion with you all again in future. I'm sure that all audience have a deeper understanding today's topic. Thanks for watching today's Microforum show. Don't forget to stay tuned for our next week's show. Again, shout out our slogan, the big picture, the small detail. Bye bye!